Keep your video turned off until I need to speak or answer questions. This will make it easier for me as the chair and for those watching on YouTube to observe members as they participate in the debate on each item and during the votes. I'd also like to ask that all members and staff keep their microphones on mute unless you need to answer a question or speak. And any members do wish to speak on an item, please make sure your video is on and you raise your hand, or please unmute your mic and indicate your intention to speak, and I'll make sure I create a speakers list as usual. When voting, I'm asking the members make sure your video is once again turned on and raise your hands to indicate your vote, just like we did at City Council last week. And then, although we're in different locations and meeting remotely today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the committee that the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also want to acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. At this point, I would like to ask if there's any conflicts of interest, and if you have any, to please raise your hand or unmute your microphone. Seeing none, we need a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting on March 9th, 2020. Second, Councillor Holiday. Members, all in favor? Carried. We will now go through the agenda. Our first item is GL 13.1, amendment to contract with the Kodiak Group Holdings operating as work authority for various safety footwear.
Hold for questions, Mr. Chair. Stephen Holiday.
Okay. Councillor Holiday, sorry, I'm just going to grab my notepad here. Councillor Holiday is holding number one. Number two is the amendment to purchase order for the design and contract administration of the new Northeast Scarborough Community Rec Center and Child Care Center in Ward 25. He holds on that. Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve?
Karygiannis.
Councillor Karygiannis, all in favor? Number two carries. Number three, amendment to 3 purchase orders for the construction of the Canoe Landing project, previously identified as Block 31, in the Community Center and Child Care Center and 2 elementary schools in Ward 10. He holds. I have a motion to approve.
Councillor Nunziata.
You, Councillor Nunziata, moving the recommendations in number 3. All in favor? That carries. Number 4 is the expropriation of 39 Commissioner Street in connection with the Portland's Flood Protection Project. He holds on number 4. Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So move, Mr. Chair. Holiday.
Councillor Holiday is moving approval of the recommendations in number 4. All in favor? That carries. Number 5, authority to enter into leases and licenses for nominal consideration for the Portland's Flood Protection Project. He holds. Can I have somebody to approve the recommendation? Number 5.
Karygiannis.
5.
Sorry, did I hear a hold? Nope.
No, Jim Karygiannis to approve.
Okay, Councillor Karygiannis is moving the recommendations on number 5. All in favor? That carries. Number 6 is the award of negotiated requests for proposals. Ariba. Councillor Karygiannis, you'd like to hold number 6?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Number 7 is the non-competitive purchase of endpoint detection and response solution. There is a confidential attachment to this.
So move, Chair.
Councillor Holiday is moving number 7. All in favor? Number 7 carries. Number 8, Toronto Employment and Social Services lease at 2900 Warden Avenue, Suite 225. I do have a motion to refer this back to staff. They would like to continue the negotiations on this, and the ward councillor is in support. Carol, can I have the motion? That this item be referred to the Executive Director of Corporate Real Estate Management in consultation with the Toronto Employment Social Services and Modern PO for further review and a report to the General Government and Licensing Committee.
Chair, can we put a date on that when we report back?
Sure.
Next meeting, would that be okay?
Cioli, is the next meeting okay?
I'm just going to ask through the chair. I'm going to just to comment on that, just based on the work that he has to do. So, if you could comment on that, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Through the chair, it's Pat Matozzo. Councillor, we'd like to go back and look at the lease along with Toronto Public Library. So if we could report back in early fall, that would be great, because that would allow us extra time to revisit the lease with the landlord and incorporate in Toronto Public Libraries.
I'm not sure if we're in order here, but has the landlord been contacted, advised? We've been in touch with them?
I'm just refer that question to my colleague, the Director of Transaction Services, Allison Fulcia, to respond.
Hi, it's Allison Fulcia, Director of Transaction Services.
Morning, Allison.
Morning. The landlord has not yet been formally informed. She is aware that we are having ongoing discussions internally on the best strategy to proceed. And we've got a meeting on Thursday scheduled, after which we should be able to give her more formal direction.
Okay. So we have, Councillor Karygiannis, we have 2 meetings in the fall, September 14th or October.
Can we move it to September, Chair?
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Councillor.
Can I ask you also please circle back with me after you speak with the landlord?
Absolutely.
Okay. And to the clerk, so could we amend that to report back to General Government Licensing Committee on September 14th, 2020?
The motion has been updated, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Very much. So there's a motion on the screen. Are there any further questions from anyone on the motion? Seeing none, so all in favor of the amendment? Carried. All in favor of the motion as amended? Carried. Our next item is number 8, Toronto Employment. Number 9. Feasibility of changing the City of Toronto's policy on statutory holidays. I've had some communications from staff, and they would like this deferred until our next meeting. And I have a motion from the clerk as well. The clerk is prepared for me.
I believe it's the supplementary report, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, Councillor Holiday?
I think that's the supplementary report that you're moving, correct?
So I'm moving everything to be deferred until our next meeting. Once this has been ratified by QP Local 79 still has to ratify their contract, and staff have advised that we need to deal with this item after that contract's been ratified.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I believe it's just moving the supplementary report.
Yep. So I have a motion on the screen. The consideration of this item be deferred until after City Council has ratified the QP Local 79 collective contract. Any questions of the mover? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that item carries. And item number 10, 13.10, Ontario Good Roads Association Road Authority web portal. We do have 2 deputants on that item. Okay. And I think we will deal with item number 10 first, that has the deputants. So this is 13.10, Ontario Good Roads Association Road Authority web portal. And we have 2 deputants that are online. Sorry, Carol, I think the first deputy is Joe Tierney.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The first deputant is Joe Tierney. If you are ready for him, we will connect him.
Okay.
Okay, he is on the line.
Good morning, Mr. Tierney. Welcome to the General Government and Licensing Committee. Thank you for attending our first virtual meeting. You have the way it works here is you have 5 minutes to make a deputation on this item. Every member of the committee has up to 5 minutes to ask you questions on this item. Once all the deputants are done, we take it into committee where we can each ask staff questions for up to 5 minutes on this item, and then we can speak to it. So if you're ready, you have 5 minutes to speak whenever you're ready to begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for the committee for allowing me the opportunity to address you this morning. I don't have a lot to say. I'm certainly not going to use up my full 5 minutes, but I just want to give you a background on the Road Authority web portal. It was built by OGRA probably over 20 years ago as a member service for municipalities to manage their products and services that they use in infrastructure projects. It's a free service that we extend to all municipal members of OGRA, of which the City of Toronto is. And it provides a great tool for your staff to manage the products and services that they use in their construction projects. It also links back to the Ontario provincial standards, which are standards that most municipalities use when they are designing and bidding or tendering out infrastructure projects. We've been working with the City of Toronto for a number of months now, trying to encourage them to utilize the Road Authority. It's as I said, it's a free service, and it would be an ideal opportunity for the city to manage their products. With me today is Amin Manina, who is the technical expert on this, so I'm going to defer to him on the technical part of it. I just want to thank the committee for giving me the opportunity to make this presentation this morning. And finally, I just want to say that we have the region of Durham, the city of Hamilton, and the third one escapes me at the moment, but the municipalities that are currently using the Road Authority to manage the products and services. So adding the City of Toronto to that list would certainly be beneficial to the product, because the costs associated are actually paid for by the companies and suppliers that we do business with in doing infrastructure projects. So with that, Mr. Chair, I will give up the microphone, and if you have any questions, be pleased to answer it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tierney. Are there any questions from the committee for the deputant? Seeing none, I have a few. Mr. Tierney, could you just explain the accepted for use badge and how that works within the portal?
The accepted for use badge is assigned to a product by the Product Management Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Road Authority. It's a volunteer committee comprised of representatives from across the municipal spectrum who sit on a regular basis and review all the products that are submitted for consideration to be listed on the Road Authority. And if they determine that the product is an accepted for use or acceptable for use in a municipal infrastructure project, they can assign a badge to it. All that badge says is that it's been reviewed by a group of peers. So engineers, public works directors have reviewed the product and have determined that, yes, this product meets certain guidelines, certain standards, certain necessities for municipal infrastructure projects. It does not, however, mandate or require a municipality to use that particular product in their contracts. They are free to use whatever products they want. It simply gives them a certain amount of, comfort in knowing that a new product, maybe on the market for the first time, has been reviewed by some of their peers and has been deemed acceptable.
Okay, and that includes, from the report I see, the Ontario Ministry of Transportation, some of the larger municipalities, Hamilton, the region of Durham, Halton region.
Correct. Sorry. Thank you for bringing that. I forgot the one municipality and the MTO. MTO has been using the Road Authority since its inception. In fact, MTO helped fund the development of the Road Authority when it was first developed. And they use it to manage what they call their designated source of materials, which is essentially their product list. And they've been using it successfully for over 20 years. And the other municipality, as you mentioned, was the region of Halton.
Okay, and then the Road Authority portal. So the City of Toronto, we already belong and pay membership to the Ontario Good Roads Association. So we're not paying us if we were using this portal. So we wouldn't have to pay a subscription fee, would we? From what I understand in the report, covered in our membership fee.
No, there's no subscription fee, Mr. Chair. It's a free service that OGRA provides to all our member municipalities, as long as you're a member of good standing, which the City of Toronto is.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions of the deputy? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Tierney. And we have your associate from the OGRA as well. Ramin Mena.
Hello. Morning.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Clear.
All right. You have 5 minutes whenever you're ready if you wanted to add anything on that Mr. Tierney had to say.
Thank you first for allowing us the time to present our materials. I believe I submitted some slides just to get the point across. So to follow up on the points that Joe made, the Road Authority was first established in '98 with the help of MTO to provide services for municipalities to consolidate all information and for products that deal with infrastructure, and to help municipalities mainly to manage and publish their approved products list. And currently we have the City of Hamilton, Halton region, region of Durham, and MTO that currently use it. And there's other municipalities that are being contacted. The main power of this tool, it lies within vast membership. We have about 10,000 products in the database, with as much as 400 member companies that publish their products. And that database includes a range, with a wide range in infrastructure, not just linear infrastructure, despite the name the Road Authority, but it also includes vertical infrastructure products as well. Three main features of this service to help you guys understand it better. The product library, which is an open source, anybody can use it, even if you're not a member municipality. The benefits for member municipalities lies within the Product Management Committee app, which is an app, a web-based app, allows you to use the products library to review your products, keep your records, and streamline the voting and the product review process. As well as the third feature is the Municipal Product Listing app, which helps municipalities manage, approve, and publish their pre-qualified products lists. If you see on slide 8, this is a sample of the product library. It has it's organized based on category. For example, the one you see, the snapshot you see is drainage and sewer works. You see all the products that deal with that category. You see, you can see also the classification made by the Products Management Committee that Joe touched on. And if you click on a product, the products management committee from your side can see all the information on the product regarding contact info, supply chain info, manufacturer, and whatnot. And on slide number 9, you can see a snapshot of the product management committee app, which is paperless, and it facilitates holding meeting with physical distance as it currently happening. And even beyond the pandemic, this can be used with a physical distancing feature to minimize the cost associated with hosting such meetings. And it also facilitates decision making, record keeping, and all of the everything that deals with approving products and reviewing products. The third thing is slide number 10. It shows you a snapshot of the published approved products list, or in this case, it's MTO's designated source of material. And I would like to point out that the municipality has full control over which products being approved and how does the published list looks like. In this case, you can see that the ministry has certain information that, for example, supply points. Not many municipalities use or publish the supply point information, but it's a requirement by NKO. So you have full control over how the published information look like. And just to point out on slide 11, this is a free service to our member municipalities, and the cost to keep this running is brought from the vendors and suppliers. Last thing on slide number 12, I would like to leave this slide on while I take questions.
Okay, thank you, Amin. Sorry, to the clerk, is it possible to have I can't see the slide presentation.
Mr. Chair, may I ask some questions in the meantime?
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Holiday.
Thank you for speaking
Go
to
ahead.
us today. I wondered if it's a fair comparison to compare this system to, say, something like the Suites catalog that's used for architectural design. So it's a compendium of products that are out there. Do I have that right?
I'm not familiar with the Suites catalog, but it seems like, based on what you mentioned, if it's a catalog with products, it seemed to be comparable, but I can't comment on details on what the information provided.
Okay. I wondered if you could tell me, councillors, I'm sure like city staff, from time to time get contacted by different companies that are looking to show off their product or make people familiar with it. Is there an easy place for us to refer these companies to say, rather than come to me or an individual, you might be better off going to the OGRA and making a pitch to have your product added to this system? Is there a gateway I can steer people to?
Yes, as I mentioned, the product management committee, it's a web-based app, but there's a product management committee that's with the TRA, that's non-municipal, and we already get products that are pushed to submit their products to TRA from other municipalities. And,
they go online through the TRA's website?
Yes, they submit. They follow an application process. They submit all their information and their company information, and when their file is ready, it's put on the agenda for the TRA's product management committee app, which I also coordinate. And they meet once a month and they review all the products. So they're quite timely in their product review.
And I guess my last question is: do you have any partnerships with universities and colleges? This seems like a good source if you're studying in this field, that you would be familiar with the products, and vice versa. I'm familiar that universities and colleges do develop technologies from time to time, and maybe they want to have their technology listed, even though it may not necessarily be a corporation. But I noticed there's a category there for things that are for information only or don't have a lot of detail, but nonetheless might be of value to the engineering community?
I like the question. It's a good point, actually, Mr. Holder. And currently, as you saw, our only badge is the acceptance for use. It's based on, it could be a preliminary criteria based on how sophisticated Toronto's review works. But we're looking to add more badges to it, just to break it down. And one of the badges deal with innovation, and it would be partnered with the leading universities such as Waterloo and Toronto and Ryerson University.
Sorry, I'm going to slip one more question in there. Although this is product-based, is there a similar system to deal with standards? For instance, there's a lot of emerging technology and methodology around things like green infrastructure. Seems like municipalities are learning from each other on how you build a road, you build a sidewalk, you build a ditch, you build a drainage system, and it may not necessarily be magical materials. It's just the way that they're put together. Is there a sister system to this that might be a way to exchange those types of technologies, or is that a possibility maybe of the future of this one, where municipalities could list their standards and others could adopt them?
I believe there's currently a system for funded by MTO and the Engineers Association, which is Ontario Public Provincial Standards, which is a list of standards that are reviewed and published by municipal engineers across the province. But if you mean standards such as AASHTO and ASTM, those are we looked into that, and they're subscription based, so it would be cost based on how many users are open to it.
No, I just think my general questions is just around collaboration between municipalities, and I just thank you for talking to us. This is valuable information, and it reminds the members of the public that are watching that we do collaborate and work together with municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Holiday.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Are there other questions from the members of the committee on this item? Seeing none, thank you, Amina. I really appreciate you coming in this morning or joining us virtually over the telephone. Very much appreciate it. Are there any questions of staff on this item? Any questions of staff? Seeing none, I do have a question for our Chief Purchasing Officer. So the recommendation in the report is for the Deputy City Manager, Corporate Services, and the Chief Purchasing Officer to report back to this meeting in September. I guess I'm just trying to understand if we could move forward with approving this now, or would you still like to review it and report back in September?
Through the chair, I think it would be more prudent to review it as we'll be consulting with the Engineering Construction Services Division and Transportation Services to understand how to leverage it and then how to leverage it both in the procurement process and the contract management process. So I think it'd be more prudent to report back in September after that discussion.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So seeing no other questioners, we do have the recommendations before us. If I could get somebody to move the recommendations. For Holidays moving the recommendations. All in favor of the recommendations before us? That is carried. The staff will report back on this in our September meeting. So going back to the beginning of the agenda. Sorry. So we have item number 1 is 13.1, amendment to contract with the Kodiak Group Holdings Corporation operating as the work authority for various safety footwear. And this is held by Councillor Holiday. Councillor Holiday, do you have questions of staff on this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I wondered if someone is available from Toronto Fire. clerk or the staff person could identify them.
Through the chair, Debbie Higgins is here from Toronto Fire, as is Therese Chen, who is our manager of staff.
Okay, thank you. I think my question is relatively simple and straightforward. I'm going to paraphrase the report. From my understanding, there was a procurement made for footwear. It is pursuant to requirements of the collective agreement. And a best estimate was cast at the beginning for the amount of footwear that would be consumed, and we found that more has been consumed. What I understood from the report is that there's a ceiling threshold. I'm going to just go by memory, $187, and the actual cost of the footwear, I think, was far less, about $60, if I remember correctly. And I just wondered if anyone could give me some sense of how we went astray. What's happening is, are people using more shoes than we anticipated, or is there something else going on that would make it such a large variance?
So through the chair, I think the problem is actually the other way around. The contract was developed for the city as a whole, and using the lower price of the shoes, but the collective agreement for Toronto Fire allows them to spend up to $187. So where the original contract was developed for a much lower price shoe, I don't believe our demand was any higher than what we expected. It's just the price was up to $187 and not the $60 that was in the corporate contract. So we've been back and forth over this for quite some time, and this is the resolution, and we will figure out a better way to do this contract when we go out to an RFP in the future.
Just so I understand, it sounds like not a lot of people are buying the $60 shoes, but they're buying a different product that costs more. And so that wasn't contemplated. Okay, and so we basically ran out of money on the contract, and so it needs to be adjusted. Okay, and one last, historically in our collective agreement, is the amount for the shoes relatively stable, or did it change significantly in the last round?
It through the chair, it's relatively stable. It increases with our uniform value, similarly by CPI every year.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for answering the questions. It helps. I think you're on mute, Mr. Chair. I'm done my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Much appreciated. Are there other questions from the committee on this item? Seeing none, Councillor Holiday, you held this item. Would you like to speak on it?
No, thank you. No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm satisfied to move the recommendations. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Holiday. So Councillor Holiday is moving the recommendations on item number 1. Can I see a show of hands for all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Our next item is number 6. Award of negotiated request for proposal, Ariba document number 19604278882 to Kleenway Building Maintenance Services, Impact Cleaning Services, and ICS Clean Incorporated. Councillor Karygiannis, you held this item. Do you have questions of staff?
I have questions of staff, Chair. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And to everybody, just hang in there. I think that Councillor Ainsley might want to get us together in person next time around, if everything works okay. Have we considered the possibility through the chair to staff regarding having this work done inside the house? Would it be cheaper? Have we looked at all the numbers?
Through the chair, Councillor Karygiannis, it's Pat Matozzo. We have a good balance of sites between in-house and contracted services. The contracted services contract is approximately half the cost of that of in-house. So we have looked at it, but right now we're keeping it status quo because it's a good balance between in-house and contracted services.
What percentage of our work is done in-house, and what percentage of the work is done through the contract?
It's more or less equal in terms of sites and square footage. We have 107 sites under this contract for contracted services, and we have 110 sites in-house. So it's on balance.
What's the cost? How do you measure is there a yardstick that you measure cost? I mean, is it so many square meters?
We look at, so in terms of trying to compare an apples to apples comparison, we would do it on a square footage basis, and the square footage basis is approximately the same. And the cost of in-house is approximately 50% more than the contracted services.
The contracted services, are they unionized?
Yes, they are. They're unionized staff through LAUNA.
Are some of the contractors subcontracting the work to non-union? And the reason that I'm asking is, I mean, if I was to compare other services that we do, when we have road work done and when we have
Understand. There's no subbing in this contract, and we've assured that on other contracts as well. So this contract is very robust. There are a lot of quality controls we've put in place. The vendors have to provide weekly reports. We will do audit checks on a regular basis. So no, because we know that they're unionized, the three vendors are unionized. We know that there's no subbing going on.
Okay, would you be okay for us to, if I was to ask for a report back, let's say beginning of January, to compare the costs and apples to apples?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Chair, that's all the questions that I have. Thank you very much, Mr. Matoso.
Chair, I think you're on mute again. I do have questions.
The hang of this. Councillor Holiday, thank you. And questions, Councillor Holiday.
Thank you. I think my questions are for Mr. Matoso. Did I hear correctly that the cost provided by this current contract through the arrangements is about half the cost, 50%, I think you said, of the in-house?
Through the chair, that is correct.
The contractors are unionized, you mentioned. Could you tell me you don't have to be precise if it's a confidential matter, but what is the hourly rate of a unionized cleaner?
It's approximately $15 to $16 per hour.
Okay, and then what is the hourly rate of the in-house staff?
Approximately, just looking here, give me a second. It's approximately $26 an hour, and that's a net of benefits. So that's just the hourly rate.
Net of benefit. Okay, so with benefits, it would be a bit more.
Typical burden rates, both sides would approximately be about 25 to 30%.
Oh, so both sides would also have additional benefits.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so the rates aren't quite double in-house, but they are significantly more. But you said that the contractors are half the price.
Yeah, approximately 50% less, yes. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And if I've got this right, the total package before us today, have I got this right, is $43 million?
That is correct. So the base contract is 37. In light of the COVID pandemic, we've made provisions as noted on page 4 of the report, putting contingencies for COVID.
Okay, so it's fair to say that these are material amounts of money. They're in the millions of dollars are the differences.
That is correct. Through the chair, sorry. That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Matoso. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Holiday. Other questions from members on this item?
I have a question.
Renunciata, questions of staff?
Just a question. So a few years ago at the Police Services Board, we went from in-house to contract, which we saved millions of dollars as well. Is this the same company?
No, there's 3 new companies this time. Sorry, through the chair, Councillor Nunziata. No, we've got 3 new companies now. What we did was we went back out to market and put in place a more robust level of service and contract. So there's 3 new contractors that we're going to hold to a very high standard in terms of cleaning for all of the divisions, the agencies, corporations that are under this contract.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Nunziata. Other questions on this item from members of the committee? Seeing none, Mr. Matozo, I just wanted to ask about scheduling. We have had concerns before about contracts that we've sent about proper scheduling and employees trying to figure out when their shifts are. You can comment on that.
Yes, I do. Throw it through you to you. We have included work scheduling pilot to address the fair scheduling as directed by council in EX 29.12. The pilot addresses the job quality and decent work. So the pilot, of course, requires 2 weeks advance notice of a 14-day schedule, including times and work locations. So we've included that in this contract. And also with the increase of the minimum wage and changes to the employment standards, we believe we've met the needs of the job quality assessment, which are.
All right. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I don't have any more questions. Councillor Karygiannis, you held this item. Would you like to speak?
Yes, Chair, I do have a motion. If that can be put on, I'll greatly appreciate it. One of the things that I would like to see, and if Mr. Matozo had no problem with it, is that in the first quarter of 2021, that we can see some numbers of what the cost is to source it out or do it internally. I think that it'd be something that we would like to compare and have a look at. And I want to thank the staff for all the work they've done on this. And Mr. Chair, besides having this as an addition, I'd like to move the recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Karygiannis. Other speakers on this item? The committee?
Mr. Chair, can I question the mover, please?
Sorry. Yes, Councillor Holiday. Questions of the mover.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Councillor Karygiannis. I wondered, Councillor, if you could comment. I think you mentioned in your question to staff that you were looking for a comparison of the cost to do the services. Is that still your intent? This is a little bit of a different motion.
Well, my intent is I mean, this motion pretty well says the same thing. If I can paraphrase, it's like, what is it going to cost us for it to be done inside the house? We know what it's costing us to be done outside, but the possibility of doing the work in house. This is what the request is for the motion.
Well, would you consider it a friendly motion just to, not to just presuppose that it's to be in-house, but just to look at the contracts in general? I mean, the questions from the questions and answers from Mr. Matozo indicated that it was less expensive to go to the contractor. So I wondered if the opposite is the proper outcome, which is to go completely outsourced.
Well, Councillor, I appreciate the fact that you want to go completely outsourced. However, I'm not of that sense. I'd like to see what the cost is, and then we can move from there.
Well, okay. So through you to the councillor, Mr. Chair. So I don't necessarily say that we should go outsource, but I wondered if following the numbers is the right route. So this particular motion looks specifically at insourcing as opposed to being open-ended. And I wondered if you would find a friendly amendment not to presuppose the outcome, but to just say, let's look at the prices.
How would you want to word it? Can we have the motion back up again, please?
Well, I would just suggest that that you would say to the deputy city manager to report back on a comparison of the costs between the outsourced and insourced versus this, which just describes doing the work internally. The report would only say how much more it would cost.
If that be it, I mean, if the possibility of doing the work internally is much higher than doing it outside, then I think the numbers will speak for itself.
So this is sort of a one outcome approach. Would you agree that that's that's the intent of your motion is to price out insourcing as opposed to examining the price, like doing a comparison. It's two different things.
I am looking to see what the work would cost us internally. I mean, we were given numbers, if you remember back about the contracting, the sanitation, outsourcing it, and then when we looked at the numbers, the cost internally was much cheaper than outsourcing it. So I'd like to see the cost of doing the work internally.
So you want to price out insourcing the work, but you don't want to do a comparison. Like they're two different things. If I just want to understand your intent, right?
So are you suggesting a friendly amendment?
Well, the friendly amendment would just be to
How would it read?
I think it would just say the deputy city manager report back on the costs of insource versus outsource. A comparison.
I'll accept that.
Okay, so I'm understanding that Councillor Kurgianis will accept a friendly amendment on the motion.
I think that, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Nunziata?
I agree with Councillor Holiday, but as far as the motion, there's parts of it that need to be deleted on the rewording of the motion.
Yeah, and I think the clerk's going to take care of that.
Can we have the amended motion up, please?
I think she's just typing it up, Councillor Kurgianis.
Thank you very much, Chair.
We've edited the motion, Mr. Chair, and it's coming on the screen. You can let me know if that's the intent.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay with that, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Kurgianis, you're fine with that? Councillor Holiday?
I'm fine with that.
Councillor Nunziata?
Yes, I'm fine with the rewording. I mean, we have in the past few years received a number of reports on the comparison, but we want another one, that's fine.
Yep. Okay. Does anybody else have questions of the mover? Seeing none, so we have the motion on the screen put forward by Councillor Kurgianis. All in favor? Carries unanimously. And then we have the item as amended. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Okay. And that was our last item. I would like to thank everybody for joining.
Chair, it's
Yes.
Councillor Fletcher. I've been sitting in the whole time. I'm just not sure you've noticed. So I just wanted to say thank you for the meeting today.
Good morning, Councillor Fletcher. Sorry, no, I didn't. My apologies.
Thanks.
I would like to thank everybody for attending this morning. In particular, I want to thank our committee clerk staff for all the work they've done on this and going into City Hall to making sure everything runs smoothly. And I'd also like to thank the clerk's IT and our audio staff for also making sure everything runs smoothly and very efficiently, and everybody for attending. And I would like if somebody can move a motion to adjourn.
With appreciation, Mr. Chair, for everyone doing hard work here.
Thank you, Councillor Holiday.
Smooth meeting.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor? That carries. Meeting is adjourned, and I just hope everybody stays safe and well. And hopefully our next meeting will once again be live and in person. But all the best to everybody. Thank you.